Hello all and welcome to another classic toy review by ScorchForToys@anymoon.com. Today we're looking at the Invid Shock Trooper toy, originally sold by Matchbox in 1986, reissued by Harmony Gold in 1991, and then reissued again by Playmates in the cross-branded Robotech Exo Squad line in 1994. You won't find these classic toys anywhere but the secondary market, but if you love the 80s, be sure to check out Big Bad Toy Store by clicking the link in the comments below to shop for merch from all your favorite shows while supporting this channel. Yes, Harmony Gold, the rights holder, did a production run under their own name, and yes, that's strange. For a full timeline of these releases, check out my article on anymoon.com. Regardless of the exterior box and branding, the contents were very similar. The toy comes disassembled and held in place by cardboard with strategic cutouts and twist ties. The Playmates version put all the parts in baggies. Also in the box were stickers, instructions, and a marking guide. If you bought the original Matchbox toy, you also received an invitation to join the Robotech fan club. Regardless of the flavor, your journey will begin by assembling your toy. Now this is my Playmates version of the toy. It comes with stickers that emulate battle damage, and it also comes with this black overspray covering the toy to make it look a little more worn. I've got the decals or stickers inside the cockpit area too. Your cockpit may or may not be installed. I find it is frequently popped off. Just has a couple of pegs on either side, and you just push that into place. A little scary with a toy this old, might be a little brittle. There's a little tooth in the front of the cockpit, and you can just push that in, and then it will be in position. You can see that these holes, arm and cannon, are about the same size, but not perfectly the same size. You can tweak things a bit to have two sets of cannons or two sets of arms if you had another toy to play with. We are not going to be doing that today. Here is the arm. As you would expect, it just plugs right in. There you go. And then you have a cannon, which also just plugs right in. And that is all of the assembly that you need to worry about. Your toy is now ready to rock and roll. There's no metal here, but the toy clocks in at a fairly hefty 328 grams, which is just a bit lighter than the old 155 scale Jetfire or VF1 toys. All Matchbox Robotech toys were decidedly non-scale, but the fully assembled toy is 20.5 centimeters tall. The mech is supposed to be a hair over 5 meters tall, which makes this toy about 125 scale. It doesn't fit any other toys you own, but the show was incredibly inconsistent in the sizes portrayed, so it works pretty well with most of your smaller ride armor toys. So there are some superficial differences between the releases. There are the stickers that you saw in the Playmates version that simulate battle damage. They did not come with the old Matchbox toy, which you are looking at now. This is the original toy, original release, and you'll note the accents on the legs, both inside and out, are not painted on. Those are stickers for the Matchbox release. Whereas on the Harmony Gold version of the toy, those apps were painted on. So that was a nice improvement there. Harmony Gold also painted the brow of the Shock Trooper and gave us a painted eye instead of a sticker eye, but the sticker eye I think looks much more menacing. Other paint apps on the Harmony Gold toy include the barrels for the blasters. You also got this little trim up top and on the back, as well as the trim accents below the cannons, which are not present on the Matchbox toy. So Harmony Gold gave us some nice increased paint applications, but the eye looks pretty generic, which I thought was a pretty big bummer. My Harmony Gold toy also is the only toy I have with an arm that seems to pop off frequently for no good reason. So then we go to the Playmates version. I told you, black speckle, a little different color going on here, but they kept the brow, they kept the blasters, or the barrels I should say, painted black, but they ditched the accents on top and below the cannons. They kept the accents on the legs, which is nice. So you didn't get the sticker sheet for those. Now, one bummer I would say is that the box art shows a painted toy, which looks better than all of the final products. And even when Harmony Gold reissued the toy, they didn't fix it so the box accurately represented what was inside. When I was assembling the toy, you saw that it has a cockpit that a figure can fit in. Here's one of the old Matchbox figures. This is Roy, and we can put him inside the little cockpit area like so. And then you can go ahead and close the cockpit, and you can still make Roy out through that window that they put in front. Now in the anime, that's a black stripe that comes through. So it's kind of a clever way to make it so you could still see that figure inside. In the show, there would be just some sort of a larval Invid in there, so this isn't really canon type stuff, but a way to add fun factor. Speaking of fun factor, we also get claws. And the claws have a spring-loaded mechanism to them that allows them to open and close. And you could take one of your figures and put them in there, and now the Invid has won, and Scott will die a horrible death. So that's a fun way you can play. And then you have, of course, the transformation mechanism, which means you bring the arms up and the legs back. And now it is in flight mode, which I'm making fun of, but it actually does look kind of cool flying like this. And it does fly around like this in the show. So this is the conversion that the box touts. From an articulation standpoint, there's not a lot going on. The arms and cannons, you saw how they connect, so they're going to rotate around just fine. And they do have little notches in them, so it's kind of like a ratcheted joint. Same thing with the cannon. If you bring up the arm too high, it's going to move the cannon too. So that's how that works. You can bring the arms out, which is cool. No elbows, no twist points anywhere along there to speak of, which is kind of weird. It looks like, really looks like there should be. So that's pretty frustrating. Then there is the ability to swing the legs back and forward, and you can pivot the toes, but there's no real ankle or knee to speak of there. So that's pretty much all you're gonna do is accomplish varying looking forward positions and grasping. But you know, that's really all this thing kind of needs to do if you are gonna have it look like it's menacing your smaller scale ride armor figures. Original Angry Crab MSRP was $24.99 US, which may not sound like much, but seems pretty lofty when, at the time, the much nicer Gakken 135 scale Alpha was selling for $29.99. Of course, that was then, and now you should expect to pay more when hunting for it on the secondhand market. While it leaves a lot to be desired in articulation and has some visual shortcomings, I had a lot of fun doing the photo shoot with my smaller ride armor toys. Though Mospeada has seen several waves of new merchandise, this is still the only Shock Trooper toy out there, and though not a particularly good toy, it is one of the better Matchbox efforts. Visit anymoon.com for my full article, subscribe, and thanks for watching.